All right. I mean, we are 2.5 hours after the final cuts for the Detroit Lions. They only had 4 wide receivers, so you absolutely knew they were going to be doing something different. And I was going live. I was live just now, and now I have to make a second video about it. I was going live when news broke that the Detroit Lions have figured out who their next wide receiver is going to be, and it is Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, he's 30 years old, all right, and he's not a journeyman. He has played for the Denver Broncos, all right? I am seeing this on multiple outlets, all right? Multiple outlets, whether it's Last Take. None of them are like, hey, it's all fan pages. There's a Vic Lombardi. There's a real person, but they are saying Tim Patrick is on his way to the Lions. Here is what you need to know about Tim Patrick. He had 3 good seasons. I think he played maybe even 4 seasons for the Broncos. 2 of them, he had over 50 receptions, over 700 yards. Very Josh Reynolds-like numbers for what Josh Reynolds was doing with the Lions over the last 2 years. So Tim Patrick was putting up those kind of numbers. He is a big-bodied wide receiver, and he is solid, I'm telling you right now. So, the last 2 years, where'd he go? All right, well, in 2022, he tore his ACL, and it took him out for the entirety of the season. Then, in 2023, he tore his Achilles before the season started. Out both years. But this is a guy that the Lions needed. We needed that new X. All right, we needed a new X wide receiver. All right, a guy who is preferably over 6 foot, over 200 pounds, had some athleticism, but could use his body to make catches. Tim Patrick fits every single one of those. Every single one of those. He's 6'4". All right, he's 6'4". At PFF, they have him at 6'4", 212 pounds. All right, he has produced, and his athleticism is elite. Now, I'm not saying he's the same athlete that he was before, but coming out of college, he had a RAS of 9.52. He was a sub 4.5 40 guy. He's, like I said already, the height, you know what it is. The height and weight is great. All right? Even the agility, while it was poor, the 3-cone was actually pretty good, and his explosion was fantastic. His broad jump was in the 92nd percentile. His vertical jump in the 84th percentile. All right? He is fast. He has a big body. He has a good vertical. And he has the experience and knows exactly what to do to be a successful NFL player. That is what I love about this signing. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. So when we look at that initial 53-man roster, this was our wide receiver room. All right? A lot of talent. Amon-Ra St. Brown, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. All right? Not even an argument. Jameson Williams. All right? We've all heard the rumors of what he's doing and his coming out party and everything that he's got going throughout training camp this year. Khalif Raymond, the steady player that has been so good for us for the last couple years. And then Isaiah Williams, who looks like a little Khalif Raymond clone. It's kind of like an Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond combined. All right? And he is just one of those guys that's doing everything right. But none of them fit that position of the X receiver that we need. Doris Fountain got to go for it in camp. Couldn't do it. Donovan Peoples-Jones got his shot. Not only could he not do it, he looked disinterested. He looked like he didn't care. He looked like he wasn't even willing to hustle or try. He's running wrong routes. He's lining up in the wrong spot. Just absolutely dumbfounded at the way he was handling his business. It didn't make any sense to me. So we needed an X receiver. And then I'm sitting here, I'm on live, and this is fun. You can watch it. All right. It's I'm trying to remember what the title of the live was, but it was just in Detroit Lions, something about Detroit Lion cut, you won't believe, or something like that, because there were a couple players that were cut that I was like, are you serious? Pecco was cut. Shane Zylstra was cut. But I'm sitting there and I'm breaking down the wide receivers. And I talk about 3 wide receivers that I think the Lions should go after. They were Noah Brown of the Houston Texans because he was reportedly cut. That it was Terrence Marshall Jr. of the Carolina Panthers if we want the younger, super athletic one. And then the combination of the two, which was Tim Patrick. Athletic, but also experienced. And I said those are the 3 guys we should go after. And then it gets reported while I'm live that we signed Tim Patrick. And it's like, Brad Holmes, thank you. Like, can we just take a second and say thank you to Brad Holmes. Cheers, my friend, because you are the first GM where it's like, oh, you know what would make sense for the Lions to do? You know what just makes sense? It would make sense if they went after Tim Patrick. You do it. You know, and the amount of moves that he did, you know what would make sense? We haven't had a backup quarterback in a couple years. It just makes sense to draft Hendon Hooker, and he does it. Like, all the time. All the time, he's just doing the things that make sense. All right? You know what? We really shouldn't spend a ton of money on a guard in Jonah Jackson when we can get something cheaper on the open market. Boom, Kevin Zeitler. It just makes sense. You know, the one area that I think it would be nice if we didn't have to devote linebackers to the stopping the run, and if we just had a defensive tackle that was just a monster in the run defense, boom, DJ Reader. Like, he just makes smart moves. You cannot oversell or overestimate the importance of that. Now, here's what makes sense to me. And I'm not sure where the player gets dropped or gets put, but here's the deal. John Kaminsky made our initial 53. They did not use that restriction or that special allowance of an IR spot for Kaminsky. They used it on Christian Mahogany, and they used it on, I'm blanking. Somebody else got hurt. Anyways, they used it on 2 different people, and they used it on maybe even Broderick Martin. All right, so, nope, that's what it was. It was Emmanuel Mosley. So they use those 2 things, and they just keep John Kaminsky. So I wouldn't be surprised. The roster's actually at 52. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in another quarterback and then put Kaminsky on, not quarterback, wide receiver, and then put Kaminsky on the IR. So now we have 6 wide receivers because Tim Patrick, as good as he is and as good as he could be, he's injury prone. So if it were me, I'd be putting in a waiver claim on Terrence Marshall if he has to go through waivers. I'm not sure if he's 3 years in or not. If he's had 4 years experience or 3, that makes a big difference. So that would be someone that I absolutely would put a claim on. If they want to go after Noah Brown, if they want to go after Robert Woods, these are a good idea of players that can do that because you can't just count on Tim Patrick being healthy, and you don't want to be in a situation where he goes down and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what to do. All right. Doris Fountain, we'll see if he ends up on the practice squad. I don't know, but he could get stolen at any time. So lots of stuff happening. Thank you, Brad Holmes, for doing the move that absolutely makes sense. All right. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.